Hey guys, this is P.M.R.Bonez88, and today for my next superhero movie review, it's none other than Dredd. So the director, P. Travis, directed this film, and also this movie, Dredd, was based off the comic books by John Wagner and Carlos Esquire, but I never heard that Judge Dredd was based off of comic books, nor I never get a chance to read them or heard of it, because the last thing that I've heard about Judge Dredd was the 1995 Judge Dredd that starred Sylvester Stallone. But I heard that mid-90s original movie Judge Dredd was very terrible, and it was kind of interesting, but in another way it was very terrible due to bad acting, and the story plot kind of made sense, but it was very not too flowing up for this film, and not really basing off the comics not too often, and because it's Rob Schneider. I'll be talking about the original Judge Dredd sometimes, but until then I'll be talking about is the reboot of Dredd. So for this film, it was very violent, and plus the star that played as Judge Dredd was Karl Urban, that we all know him as Dr. McCoy from Star Trek 1 and 2, the reboot of the franchise. And make a note to spoiler alerts, just so you all know, if none of you hadn't seen the reboot of Dredd, don't watch this video, stop it. But if you want to watch it, if you've already seen it, or you don't care about the spoiler alerts, if you want to go on, watch, and continue on with this review, continue on watching it. So the movie starts out with Judge Dredd going out on patrol, and then goes after with the gang members that they are taking these drugs that they are called the slow-mo. And when you see with the graphic and the designing and the visual effects of when they take these drugs, they start smoking, and then everything starts to slow down, and it's all sparkly, and the designing and the real graphic effects almost reminds me of The Matrix. They didn't do too much of the slow-mo, just only for some visual effects scenes, including where the scene where Dredd and his partner start shooting of all these people, and you see the bloods and even the slow-mo of the detailing is like all slowing down. It stops, even where a bullet goes right into one guy's mouth, into the other, and it's like you see the cheekbones all coming out, and all the skins and bloods gushing out like you're floating into space. It's so amazing, and so how graphically adding all these details and explaining it, and even basing off with all the comics, and much more darker than the original films, again, that I'm comparing to the 1995 one and the reboot. But anyways, as he stops them, two of them are dead, but then he goes after one of the gang members, but unfortunately he leads them up to this one giant building, the warehouse. However, that's where Dredd, he shoots the guy with the flare gun, in order that he dies instantly, and then he saves the hostage. So Dredd is reassigned by a partner, and also being trained by the rookie named Judge Cassandra Anderson, who she is trained to become a judge, but also is a genetic mutant that has psychic abilities that she senses of people's emotions, of how they feel, or what they're hiding against, and what are they thinking right now. So both Dredd and Anderson go after with this criminal crime lord and the kingpin named Madeline Mendrell, also known as Mama. She's the leader of the gang that makes these drugs, so they go after her, and somehow Mama just closes down the buildings and bring out all the gang members to kill the two judges. So they go after the crime lord, and after, things go really out bust, go all crazy with all the shootings, the kills, the violence. And Karl Urban does play a good, magnificent role to play as Dredd. Even so that with comparing Sylvester Stallone, he does say all these weird lines saying, I am blah blah. You could barely understand Stallone a word he says, and sometimes can't even hear what he's saying about how he becomes Dredd. But for the reboot, you see him making more darkness, more angerful and badass to the bone. You never see his face at all. He always covers his face, keeps the helmet on, but even so with the original of mid-90s of Judge Dredd, you do see his face, and kind of not really messes up the movie and and based on the comics, you cannot even see his face. Even the visual effects, they were very good. I love the visual effects. Those were my favorites. And the music, however, was played by Paul Leonard Morgan. He played the Dredd music of it, but at first I thought it was Skrillex that did the music by Dredd, because it was like very techno, pop culture, dark music that was happening. The music was very good, but sometimes it gets a little too annoying at times, but none of that, it was really good, and it was very great and fantastic. And to see with this film that has like all the dark drones, and even the designings were very well put, and to even with the fighting sequence that was real graphic and very graphic violence, and that was supposed to be the Judge Dredd that we know, and to see it. And I am interested in reading the graphic novels of Judge Dredd, even though they were comic books, but now they turned them into graphic novels, so I'll be interested in reading them. And there's also a very interesting scene that 4 judges come in for another patrol, or calling another 10-4. But however, for these four judges, they were really crooked, and they were working with Mama. So technically, the 4 judges, they were crooked. They wanted Judge Dredd and his partner to be destroyed or dead. And I've been hearing that they're supposed to make a sequel to Dredd, but they cut that out, and unlikely, they hardly doubted there's going to be a sequel. So hopefully, I think they should keep Dredd as a first movie itself. If it does deserve a sequel, if they surprise us, then that's great. But if not, then keep Dredd as a very first film. So just to rate this film, I would have to give Dredd a best 91 out of 100. For a reboot like this, it's really better, and even with the violence that was happening and the graphic and the fighting sequence and the slow-mo that was slowing it down, and the music pumps you up and makes you interesting, if like you want to dance to the beat. Even with the action fighting sequence, it's very graphical, and I love this movie like with a passion. Even better with the original Stallone Judge Dredd. And I do have this movie on Blu-ray only. And this is P.M.R.Bonez88 signing off, and saying is peace.